new week. And guess what? I'm still talking about trusting God. This subject just doesn't seem to go away from me right now. So we're just going to write it for a while. So I want you to think about this. Trusting God means letting God be God. So I'll take it back to a time, once again, with the children of Israel as they came out of Egypt, led by a 40-year-old man by the name of Moses. And they had an opportunity to pretty much make that wilderness experience a relatively short one. But they kind of lost that opportunity, and they wound up basically going in circles in the wilderness for 40 more years. Actually, Moses wasn't 40 years old. I just thought I got my math wrong. He was 80 years old. He was 40 years old when he left Egypt, and then when he came back, he was 80 years old. There we go. Now we got it. So then, when they finally came back to the place where they were preparing to go into the land that God had promised them finally, Moses was 120 years old. God had let him know, you're not going to go over. Joshua's going to lead the people. And he ended up letting Moses kind of go up and see the land so he could survey it. He saw it, but he didn't get to go over into the promised land himself. Because, Moses was, as infuriating as the children of Israel were from time to time during this wilderness experience, Moses wasn't perfect either. And I believe it was the incident where he struck the rock with his rod instead of speaking to the rock in order to get water to come out of it for Israel to have fresh water to drink. So he disobeyed the Lord, and that was kind of his punishment for that, the consequences of it. Anyway, so here Moses is 120 years old, and the Lord is giving him some things to share and to say to his people before he dies. And this is part of this, and we find this in Deuteronomy chapter 29. And I want to read some things for you and think about this idea of trusting God means letting God be God, okay? So this is Deuteronomy chapter 29, starting with the first verse. It says, "These are the words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb." Okay, so here it is. "And Moses called unto all Israel, and said unto them, you have seen," I want you to take a note of that, "you have seen all that the Lord did before your eyes." He's emphasizing this. You saw. You've seen all that the Lord did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh and unto all his servants and unto all his land. So Moses, hey, remember? Remember what God did to Pharaoh? All the plagues, all that. The verse 3. "These great," King James says, "temptations," are these tests which thine eyes have seen. Third time. You saw this. You saw this. What? The signs and those great miracles. "And yet," the next verse says, "the Lord hath not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day." In other words, you still don't understand. Now it says the Lord hath not given you. That's an interesting way of putting something here. Some things are for God and not for us. And though they couldn't put all the big picture together, that wasn't their job. Their job was not to understand the end game that God was orchestrating for them. Their job was to serve him each day. And so he goes on in this chapter talking about the things that they needed to do, and he gave them other examples. He said, "Yay, we went through areas where people were ungodly; they worshiped false gods, and you saw that, and you saw the negative effects of that. And yet, they themselves, the Israelites, were tempted, and some of them were, found worshiping the false idols and gods of the people that they were contacted with. And yet the whole time the Lord was kind of showing them that's not the way. And there's always going to be consequences if you turn your back on God to worship someone or something else. God is going to have to treat you harshly to show you that's not the right direction you need to go into. You need to turn around and go in a different direction. And so, think about these things that the Israelites had seen, experienced, had been given example to, and related to us. Can we see God's hand in our lives? Can you look back and see God's hand of protection, of mercy, grace, of love to you? Of course we can. It's not very hard to see those things. Can we see God dealing harshly with those that deny him? And that stands as an example to us to not go there, because that's a destructive way to live. I hope you can see that. But my question to you then is, do we actually understand? Do we, not without having to know all the things that God knows, do we understand that God has a purpose, and his purpose is for us to follow him each day? And we don't have to worry about the future, because that's God's territory. Now we're back to the point. Trusting God means letting God be God. The future is God's territory. It's his responsibility. It's not mine. I don't have to understand the future. I just have to live for the Lord today. And yet, it seems we always want more. And so then this whole chapter ends up in a verse that kind of encapsulates this whole idea. The last verse of the chapter, verse 29, says this: "The secret things belong unto the Lord our God." The future is the secret things. They're God's. Trust God by letting him be who he is. Letting him take care of the things that he knows about that we cannot possibly know about. Then the last part of the verse says this: "But those things which are revealed belong to us and to our children forever." Why? "That we may do all the words of this law." So now God had revealed all these experiences to the children of Israel during their wilderness journey. They didn't know the future. That wasn't their job to know the future. Their job was, here's how God has taken care of us. Another section of this chapter is when he talked about your clothes didn't wear out, your shoes didn't wear out, you never went without a meal. I miraculously fed you all this time. And so, all these things were evidences. So he's saying, listen, the secret things belong to the Lord, but those things which are revealed belong to us. We carry them around, our life experiences of knowing how God has taken care of us. Now, you may look at your current circumstance in life and may not be totally happy. I wish this was better or that was better or whatever. Yeah, okay, I understand that. We're all like that. But take another look. Take another look and see and understand that God has taken care of you. You may not have everything you want. You may wish for things that you don't have. But God has taken care of you. He has protected you. He has shielded you. He has lifted you up. He has embraced his arms around you. He has loved you. So what's your job? Let the secret things of God be God's. You serve him. because the things that he has in your life revealed to you are yours. Use them. Use them as fuel to keep your trust going in him. And there's going to be a day when you will see him face to face, in the face of Jesus Christ. And then you'll fully know and understand. Okay, hope this helped you. We'll see you again next time.